We're heading straight to the heart of the Roman Empire to talk about one of its most powerful and, honestly, most formidable figures, Agrippina the Younger. She was a true political mastermind, an empress who literally built another emperor from the ground up. But her incredible story of ambition has one of the most shocking endings imaginable.
And that's really the big question we're tackling here, right? It's a story about absolute power, about family, and ultimately about the most extreme betrayal you can think of. How does a mother who puts her son on the throne become his #1 target? To figure that out, we have to look at her absolutely incredible life.
So this is it. This is where her story ends, with her son, the Emperor Nero, looking down at the body of the mother he just had killed. It is a truly chilling scene, one of the most unnatural acts in all of Roman history. But to understand how we possibly got to this dark moment, we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
You see, Agrippina's story doesn't start in the middle of nowhere. Not at all. It starts at the absolute pinnacle of Roman society. She was born into the Julio-Claudian dynasty, the very first ruling family of the Roman Empire. She wasn't just near power, power was in her blood.
And when I say she was the ultimate insider, I am not kidding. To really get what that means, you just have to take a look at her family tree. I mean, her connections were just off the charts. Think about this. She was the great-granddaughter of Augustus, the guy who founded the Roman Empire. She was the sister of the infamous Emperor Caligula. Then she becomes the niece and fourth wife of Emperor Claudius. Yeah, you heard that right. And to top it all off, she was the mother of Emperor Nero. That's a direct connection to 4 of the first 5 Roman emperors. Her destiny really did seem written in the stars.
And we get these fascinating little details from the ancient sources. The historian Pliny the Elder wrote that she had a double canine tooth, which, in ancient Rome, was considered a sign of incredibly good fortune. Talk about some serious dramatic irony, huh? A sign of good fortune, given how her life was going to end?
But here's the thing about that so-called good fortune. It was anything but guaranteed. To survive the cutthroat, deadly politics of her own family and to eventually seize power for her son, she had to be smarter, more strategic, and way more ruthless than anyone else in the game.
And you get these dark little omens really early on. When her first son was born, the future Emperor Nero, her own husband, Gnaeus Domitius, supposedly said this: "It's just a chilling prediction from the one person who knew both mother and child best."
So how did she climb from such a vulnerable position to the very top? Well, it was a total masterclass in strategy. First, she had to survive being exiled by her own brother, Caligula. When she got back, she started marrying for influence, rebuilding her wealth and her status. And then the checkmate move. She manages to marry her own uncle, Emperor Claudius, putting herself right at the heart of Roman power. And once she marries Claudius, bam, Agrippina hits the absolute peak of her influence. She's not just a political player anymore. She is the empress. And more importantly, she's about to become a kingmaker. To really get a handle on her power, you have to know about this title, Augusta. This wasn't just some fancy name. It was an official stamp of immense authority and prestige. And get this, only 2 Roman women had ever received it before her. This made her a very, very big deal. And you can literally see her power growing right on these coins. This is Roman Propaganda 101. On the left, she's with her husband Claudius, which is already a huge statement. But look at the coin on the right with her son Nero. They're depicted face to face, almost as equals. She's making it clear she's not just the emperor's mother. She is a co-ruler.
And the ancient historians, they weren't shy about it at all. The historian Cassius Dio just lays it out there. She completely ran the show. He says she gained complete control over the emperor. She wasn't just advising him, she was calling the shots. And all this influence, all this power, was laser-focused on one single ruthless goal. She maneuvered things so that Claudius would adopt her son, Nero, and then she systematically pushed aside the emperor's own biological son, Britannicus, to clear the path for her boy to take the throne.
And she pulls it off. When Claudius dies, and yeah, a lot of ancient sources point the finger at some poison mushrooms, Nero becomes emperor. But that creates a new, deadly question. What happens when the emperor you created decides he doesn't need you anymore? This is where the final tragic act begins. It all boils down to a simple, fatal conflict of interest. Agrippina's plan was to keep ruling through her son, but Nero's plan quickly became to rule, period. without his mother looking over his shoulder. And in the Roman Empire, there's only one seat at the head of the table.
And what Nero did next is just wild. His attempts to get rid of his own mother become more and more unhinged. First, he tries poison. Not once, but 3 times. But she's one step ahead, supposedly taking antidotes. So then he builds a collapsing ceiling in her bedroom. She gets tipped off. Then comes the famous sinking boat, a ship designed to just fall apart at sea. But the incredible Agrippina just swims to shore. After all these theatrical plots failed, he gave up on being clever.
When the assassins finally cornered her in her villa, her last words were reportedly, "Stab my belly." Just think about that for a second. It's chilling, but it's also so self-aware. She understood perfectly that the very womb that gave Nero life, and with it the throne, was the reason he was now ending hers. So, after a life of such high-stakes political games that ended in the ultimate betrayal, how do we remember Agrippina? As a brilliant mastermind who played the game better than any man, or as a monster who was consumed by her own ambition?
History definitely sees her as a ruthless political operator, for sure. But you also have to see her as a pioneer, right? A woman who broke every rule to claim a level of power that was just unthinkable for a woman in Rome. She even wrote her own memoirs to control her story, though they're tragically lost now. Ultimately, she's this incredible symbol of ambition so vast it could create an emperor and then destroy itself. But maybe the most telling thing ever said about her comes from the historian Tacitus. Years before her death, astrologers supposedly told her a prophecy. Her son would become emperor, but he would also kill her. Her response says everything you will ever need to know about her ambition. Let him kill me provided he becomes emperor. And that just leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Was it all worth it?